What if I told you this conflict didn't start yesterday, or even 10 years ago, but more than 100 years ago? A land sacred to billions. Two nations claiming the same home. Wars, uprisings, peace talks, broken promises, and generations growing up in fear. Today, we're breaking down the full story of Israel and Palestine. How it started, why it continues, and why peace has been so difficult to achieve. The conflict between Israel and Palestine is one of the longest and most emotional conflicts in modern history. To truly understand what is happening today, we must travel back more than a century, to a land that is sacred to Jews, Muslims, and Christians alike. At the heart of it all is Jerusalem, a city filled with deep religious meaning and centuries of history. In the early 1900s, this land was part of the Ottoman Empire. After World War I, control shifted to Britain under the British Mandate. During this time, two powerful national movements were rising. One was Zionism, which called for a Jewish homeland after centuries of persecution in Europe. The other was Palestinian Arab nationalism. As the Arab population living there sought independence, tensions slowly grew, especially as Jewish immigration increased, particularly after the Holocaust during World War II, when millions of Jews were killed in Europe. In 1947, the United Nations proposed a plan to divide the land into two separate states, one Jewish and one Arab, while making Jerusalem an international city. Jewish leaders accepted the proposal, but Arab leaders rejected it, arguing it unfairly divided the land. In 1948, Israel declared independence. Almost immediately, neighboring Arab countries invaded, leading to the First Arab-Israeli War. When the war ended, Israel controlled more land than originally planned. At the same time, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians fled or were forced from their homes, in what Palestinians call the Nakba, meaning catastrophe. The West Bank and the Gaza Strip then came under Jordanian and Egyptian control. Nearly 2 decades later, in 1967, another major turning point occurred. During the Six-Day War, Israel fought Egypt, Jordan, and Syria, and captured the West Bank, Gaza Strip, East Jerusalem, the Sinai Peninsula, and the Golan Heights. From that moment, Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza began living under Israeli military occupation. Over time, Israeli settlements expanded in the West Bank. Communities built for Israeli citizens on land Palestinians claim for their future state. Much of the international community considers these settlements illegal under international law. Though Israel disputes this interpretation, by the late 1980s, frustration boiled over into a Palestinian uprising marked by protests, clashes, and violence. In the 1990s, hope briefly appeared when the Palestine Liberation Organization, led by Yasser Arafat, entered negotiations with Israel. The Oslo Accords created a framework for limited Palestinian self-rule and aimed to eventually lead to a two-state solution. Israel and Palestine living side by side in peace, but mistrust, political shifts, and continued violence caused the peace process to collapse. The Second Intifada erupted in the early 2000s, bringing suicide bombings, military operations, and heavy casualties on both sides. In 2005, Israel withdrew its settlers and military forces from Gaza. However, in 2006, the Islamist group Hamas won Palestinian legislative elections in Gaza. Hamas does not recognize Israel's right to exist and has carried out attacks against Israeli civilians. Israel, along with the United States and the European Union, considers Hamas a terrorist organization. After Hamas took control of Gaza, Israel and Egypt imposed a blockade, restricting the movement of goods and people. Israel says the blockade is necessary to prevent weapons from reaching Hamas, while critics argue it has caused severe humanitarian hardship for Gaza's civilian population. Since then, multiple rounds of fighting have occurred. Rockets fired from Gaza into Israeli cities, followed by Israeli airstrikes targeting militant infrastructure. From the Israeli perspective, the country has faced repeated wars and security threats since its creation. Rocket attacks, militant groups, and regional hostility have shaped its security policies. The Israel Defense Forces maintains that its operations are aimed at protecting civilians and preventing future attacks. Leaders like Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have emphasized national security as Israel's top priority from the Palestinian perspective. Many see themselves as living without a state, under occupation, and without full freedom of movement. In the West Bank, checkpoints and settlement expansion affect daily life. In Gaza, more than 2 million people live in a densely populated area facing economic hardship, high unemployment, and infrastructure damage from repeated wars. For Palestinians, the conflict is deeply tied to self-determination, identity, and the right to their own homeland. On October 7, 2023, Hamas launched a large-scale surprise attack on Israeli communities near Gaza, killing civilians and taking hostages. Israel responded with a massive military campaign in Gaza aimed at dismantling Hamas. The fighting caused widespread destruction, heavy casualties, and a severe humanitarian crisis. The world once again watched as violence escalated. Protests spread globally, and calls for ceasefires intensified. At the center of this conflict are unresolved questions. Where should the borders be drawn? Who controls Jerusalem? What happens to Palestinian refugees? How can Israel ensure security while Palestinians achieve independence? And what should be done about Israeli settlements in the West Bank? Decades of pain, fear, and mistrust make compromise incredibly difficult. Beyond politics, the conflict is deeply human. Israeli families fear rocket sirens and hostage crises. Palestinian families fear airstrikes and displacement. Children on both sides grow up knowing conflict instead of peace. Generations have been shaped by trauma. Some still believe a two-state solution is possible, to nations living side by side in peace and mutual recognition. Others believe the political and territorial realities have changed too much for that vision to work. What remains clear is that there is no simple solution. Peace would require courageous leadership, security guarantees, economic rebuilding, and recognition of each other's humanity. The story of Israel and Palestine is not just about land. It is about history, identity, survival, and hope. It is a conflict rooted in the past, but shaping the future of millions. And while the path to peace remains uncertain, understanding the history is the first step toward imagining a different tomorrow.